Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Movies You Missed. This is episode 18. I am John.
And I'm Vee.
Vee, how are you today?
I'm pumped. These movies are awesome.
Oh, hell yeah, they are. The excitement is palpable today. I can't wait to get into both of these. Yours especially, because I haven't seen it in a very long time.
You know, I hadn't seen it in a very long time either, to a point where, because this movie has a lot of very specific details in it, it was like I was seeing it again for the first time. It was very, very enjoyable to revisit this movie.
Hell yeah. It was very enjoyable for me to revisit it as well. And it was very enjoyable for me to revisit my pick, because I haven't seen that one. I would say at least 5 years it's been. And I say I watch a lot of my movies, 2 or 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. That is true. This is one that when it first came out on DVD, I watched it constantly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like it lost its pizzazz or anything like that for me. I think I just needed a break from it to kind of reconnect with it when I watched it again. And boy, did I ever.
I hadn't seen it in over 10 years, so apparently that's true for both our movies this week.
There we go, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, excellent. I can't wait.
Great.
But before we do, you went to the cinema this last week and you saw a film, is that correct?
I did, and God, that was a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I had reasonable expectations for this movie, but it definitely could have gone one of two ways given all of the advertisements that are out there. And I am speaking of the Brad Pitt-led Bullet Train.
Oh, yeah, Bullet Train.
It was a great time. If you enjoy Tarantino movies or if you enjoy Guy Ritchie movies, definitely go see this film. It was tons of fun. There are a load of people in this movie that you will recognize, including a couple cameos where you're like, holy shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it was a great time, and just definitely one of those classic like popcorn fun summer action movies that reminded me why I love going to the theater so much after several years of not being able to go. So yeah, I was really, really happy that I went and saw this in theaters.
All right, well, then I guess I'm sold. I was very much on the fence about it, only because every time I've gone to the theater, I've seen a Bullet Train trailer, and it's always the same trailer, which I guess isn't a bad thing. It's fine that it's the same trailer. You're not seeing anything new, but it kind of loses its like originality when you see the trailer 9 different times of the same stuff.
And it's just kind of hitting you over the head with advertisements to a point where you're like, your guys are trying too hard. This is probably a bad movie.
Yes, that's definitely how I felt. And the one thing I will say about the trailer is it wasn't one of those trailers that included reviews. And I will be honest with you, I fucking hate trailers like that. Because it's like, just give us the trailer. Don't give us what Peter Travers said. Don't give us what Rotten Tomatoes said. Just give us the trailer and let us make our own decision. Just give us the trailer, give us the images, a gist of the movie, give us the credits at the end, who directed it, who's in it, move on. While we are also an opinion-based podcast, I know that sounds very contradictory, but there's a thing, I have a stigma with a lot of reviewers, and we've talked about it in a previous episode in the film Birdman, when Michael Keaton's character confronts the critic at the bar. One of my most favorite scenes in cinematic history, absolutely, hands down. So I'm glad to hear that. I think I will. You sold it to me. I mean, I love me some Brad Pitt and Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's also great. He's in Tenet. He's in Kick-Ass. He's in a couple other movies where I'm just like, damn, he was actually pretty good.
He's also Wanda Maximoff's brother in the Avengers movies. He's the Speedy guy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that. Well, thank you for that. So yeah, maybe I'll check out Bullet Train before it's out.
Awesome.
I do need to go to the theaters again. Last one I saw was Elvis, and that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So.
And it was a drive-in, so it's different.
It was. Yeah, very true, yeah.
I always look for the names under the reviews when trailers try to put reviews in movies, because it's sometimes it's like Bob from Bob's Weekend Movie Blog, right? And it's some like total rando, and they're like, yeah, but he liked the movie and nobody else did, so we got to put it in there.
Right. Yeah, that's actually going back to my point, is that like there's this new movie coming out called Bodies, 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 and the trailer has nothing but reviews flashing at you. But anyway, glad you enjoyed Bullet Train. I'm excited to check it out. It will be viewed by me in theaters. I'll likely go by myself. I don't think my wife would want to go with me.
Probably not, no.
And I know my father likely won't either, so I might invite somebody anybody around here that I know, I only know like 3 people, but if they don't want to go, then I'll go by myself one afternoon and have a good time, hopefully.
Just the quintessential statement of your 30s. I have about 3 friends.
Yeah, I know. Even if I hadn't relocated, I probably still would have 3 friends.
Yeah.
Well, actually 4, and I can, at least I can
Your
count
wife's
them
one
on
of
my
them.
hand. Okay, so 5 then. 5. Well, fantastic. I do look forward to Bullet Train. And you want to dive right into your pick for the week?
Yes, I'm happy to get into mine. Mine is, interestingly enough, not as tense as yours, even though it's about a bank robbery.
Based off of these 2 picks of this week, mine caused more anxiety on my end. I don't know about for you.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, good, yeah.
Yes, and coincidentally, both these movies came out in 2006. Mine came out first that year, so this is actually in order. And they both share actors Clive Owen and Chiwetel Ejiofor are in both of these movies.
Awesome.
Which originally this was just a compendium Clive Owen episode after you picked your movie. And then it just happened, we're like, oh shit, Chiwetel's in both of these too. This is great.
No, it was awesome.
So both of these men are in the movies this week. Both of these films are from 2006. And mine kicks us off with Spike Lee directing it. It is called Inside Man.
Yes.
Denzel Washington is also in this movie, as is Jodie Foster. And this is another movie of mine that has an exceptional cast. Really enjoyed every person in this movie.
How can you not? I mean, like you said, Denzel, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Clive Owen, Jodie Foster, Willem Dafoe.
Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer. Yeah, it really is almost a who's who of a lot of actors that throughout the last 30, 40 years have really graced everybody's screens multiple times. Mm-hmm. A few Oscar winners, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes, and that is actually going to be one of my trivia questions to you today, so we'll get into that as well.
Wonderful.
Inside Man is a bank robbery movie. It is almost exclusively set in one street of New York City. This, of course, is in New York City. This is a Spike Lee directed film. It's probably one of my, if not the favorite movie of Spike Lee's.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
I love this movie. And even though I hadn't seen it in a while, because there are a lot of strings being pulled throughout this movie, it's very, very fun on the rewatch. The movie opens with people dressed up as painters and construction workers going into this bank and taking control of it and taking about 50 hostages. And from there, you have no idea what the fuck is going on the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There are many times watching movies where I love being an audience member and knowing more than the characters. Knowing what else is going on or what secret there is or what have you, because that's what the director has decided to show you. This movie, similar to The Usual Suspects or other movies with a good reveal, I loved just following along and being shown what's happening as it's happening. It is so entertaining.
My name is Dalton Russell. Pay strict attention to what I say because I choose my words carefully and I never repeat myself. I've told you my name. That's the who. The where could most readily be described as a prison cell. But there's a vast difference between being stuck in a tiny cell and being in prison. The what is easy. Recently I planned and set in motion events to execute the perfect bank robbery. That's also the when. As for the why, beyond the obvious financial motivation, it's exceedingly simple. Because I can. Which leaves us only with the how. And therein, as the bard would tell us, lies the rub.
Clive Owen is the lead bank robber. Denzel Washington is the lead detective and also hostage negotiator. Jodie Foster is a fixer.
Yes.
And I have always wished, which it's not possible, but I have always wished that I could be this smooth adult like she is. Those really just slick, knows what to say, and just moves through life with this really easy confidence that's just so awesome. Like all the way from her hair to her clothes to the way she talks to people, the way she enters a room. It's all done with confidence. She knows what the hell she's doing. She's super powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I love this character so much.
She really does take command immediately when she's brought on screen, and you're just kind of like already put off by her, but not in a bad way. And it's very strange to say this. You're put off by Jodie Foster's character, but not in a bad way. Almost kind of like you could hang out with her.
Oh, you love to hate her.
Yeah, but exactly. You know that she's got dirt on everybody, including you, even though she just met you.
Yes,
exactly. She knows everything about you. She knows if you bit your nail before you walked in the office.
Absolutely.
It's strange, and the way that she commands the room when she goes to speak with the mayor is one of my favorite sequences in the movie.
It is, and so she's hired by the owner of this bank that is being robbed, because there is something in this bank and something with this particular bank that is a big deal, and he wants to make sure whatever it is doesn't get out. And you don't know what it is either as the audience member. You are learning as everybody else is. And because she's so connected, because she's so powerful, she walks right into the mayor's office. And I love that sequence too, because they're in the main bullpit room with all the assistants and everybody going on, and the mayor's like, "Hey, how's it going? Are you inviting me to another charity event? I just love those things." And she's like, "Oh yes, Your Honor, if you could come next month, that would be great, blah, blah, blah." And they're being all posh and everything and civic-minded, and then they close the door. He's like, "What the fuck do you want?"
Yeah,
I love
good.
that scene because it's so classic politician or anybody who is externally facing, where this externally facing facade they put on about like, "Oh yes, and kissing babies and all this stuff," and then they close the door and they're like cussing like a sailor, talking a bunch of shit. Oh, it was great. I loved it so much.
It really was badass. Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing as he's leading her into the room. She goes, "Oh, it'll be great to have you there and have your support." Closes the door, and demeanor changes immediately on both of them. And you can see that she plants her feet. Like the way that she like takes her stance against him is just so badass. And I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like that's what you were saying. Like you love to hate her. Right when she's on screen, you're like, I don't know about this woman, but I could have a drink with her.
Yes.
But yeah, she
also
really
might
commands
have me
it.
killed or destroyed in some way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I haven't seen Jodie Foster in a lot of movies. She's actually in one of my favorite foreign films called A Very Long Engagement, and it's a film with Audrey Tautou, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and they are both of the Amélie 2. Great film. But Jodie Foster is in this other French film, and she speaks fluent French in this movie, and that's like one of Jodie Foster's things. Yeah, most of Jodie Foster's scenes, even when she is in the car with Denzel, and that's another sequence in the movie I like. The dialogue is so sharp, and you're just like, oh gosh, like how do these people talk to each other like this? But that's just how they are. That's how they do it. That's how they get their point across. That's how they get what they want. And in a weird way, you and I have had this conversation about ourselves. We're almost on the too nice spectrum to really throw out all that much authority to people, even if we are in a position of authority. So it's fucking crazy. It's so nuts to me to like, even though I know it's a written script and they're told to do this and they're portraying a character, it's believable. And that's the one thing about Inside Man that I love the most, is that it is a very believable story.
Every single actor owns the scene that they are in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Every single scene is sharp and tight. The dialogue is incredible. There are a ton of different storylines going on in this movie, and it is not hectic. It is not confusing. Spike Lee did such a fantastic job crafting this movie and editing it in a way where every transition from the bank robbery, and then you transition out to maybe a meeting with Jodie Foster, and then you transition back to the command unit with Denzel. It is not jarring, ever.
Mm-mm. No.
It is so well done, so well edited. He did a great job with this movie.
Absolutely.
I actually enjoyed, so even though Denzel is the cop, Clive Owen is the robber, and so they're obviously at odds, I enjoyed the battle of wits between Denzel and Jodie. Those scenes were incredible. That toe-to-toe with those two great actors was so fun to watch.
It really was. I don't know if they've ever been in a film together before.
I don't think they had. No, they hadn't. And
awesome.
When you were talking about the car scene with both of them, I loved where she's like, no offense, detective, but this is well above your pay grade. And he's like, well, just ask the mayor to increase my pay and we can have a conversation about it. I love that line so much.
That was a good one.
Again, love this character, which was almost not played by Jodie Foster.
Oh, no?
There were a ton of actresses considered for the role of Madeline, is the name in this movie of this character.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Hudson, which, no. She just couldn't have pulled that off.
I don't think
no
so.
hate to Kate Hudson. She just couldn't
no hate at all.
Couldn't have pulled this part off. Rachel Lee Cook, Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I'm sorry, Rachel Lee Cook.
Yes.
Nothing against Rachel Lee Cook.
But
Love
no,
you,
right.
But I don't know. I mean, what do we got? She's All That, Babysitter's Club.
No.
I can't picture Rachel Lee Cook as Madeline.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I love. She's great. It's just not a fit. It's not a fit. And then the two that I think could have potentially pulled it off, Marsha Cross, who was Bree in the Desperate Housewives series, the redhead. And she can pull off very condescending, very rich, very I know things. I think she could have done this. And then, which this blew me away, Jennifer Connelly.
No way.
Yep, she turned down this role.
She turned it down.
She turned it down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know, but after her role in actually Alita, I can absolutely picture her as Madeline.
I could see Jennifer Connelly pulling that off.
Yeah.
And Marsha Cross, definitely,
Right?
those two.
Yeah, so those two, yes, but Jodie Foster owned this from start to finish, and she has been an actress since she was 2 years old, so it's kind of funny that you say you haven't seen her in a lot of things.
Oh, wow.
She...
Well, I mean, I've seen her in the staples, I will say. You know, I do love me some Silence of the Lambs.
Of course.
And I do, I have seen Taxi Driver. I've seen Contact. I haven't seen it since theaters, though, and that's actually been on my rewatch list because I keep hearing that it's actually really good.
It's really good.
I don't remember liking it at all.
Because we were young, and it is a very paced movie. But that movie came out in 97. I think as adults, we would probably enjoy it a lot more because it's more plot and dialogue driven than action driven.
Got it, yeah. All right, yeah, I'll rewatch Contact at some point.
Similar to this movie, even though it's a bank robbing movie, this movie is not super violent. This movie is very plot and dialogue driven. Definitely recommend it. Like even your parents who generally don't, they don't like violent movies. I would totally recommend this to them though.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I saw this twice in theaters with my father, actually. We went opening weekend, very much enjoyed it, and then several months later, there was a re-release at the ArcLight, and it was a Q&A presentation with the producer, Brian Grazer. So we went to that and got to sit in the theater with Brian Grazer, and then I didn't have any good enough questions to ask him, unfortunately. Seeing it with Brian Grazer and listening to him talk about the production and how Spike Lee put the movie together and how Denzel and Spike Lee worked together, because they have worked together several different times before this one.
Yep.
I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. And when I lived in LA and there was a Q&A for a movie that I liked, I tried to go always. And that was one of my favorite ones. But going back to Inside Man, one of my favorite sequences in the film, I've said this already, I have favorite sequences, but there's a lot that goes on in Inside Man, and I really, really like the moment when Clive Owen's character is in the bank vault with the little kid playing the video game, and this kid is telling him, oh, you get money for jacking people, you get money for stabbing people, you get money for killing people, you just act out the hood life or something like that, and Clive Owen takes the video game away from this kid and looks at it, and then he gives it back to him, and he goes, I'm going to have to talk to your father about this video game you're playing. And that is one of those moments where he's robbing a bank, but he wants to be the voice of reason. So going back to Requiem for a Dream with Jared Leto's character telling his mom not to take diet pills, he's also fucked up on some other substance and he's trying to dissuade somebody. I just always liked that Clive Owen's character wanted to be, hey man, don't let your kid play these fucking video games. The kid's 8 years old and he's killing people in video games. What do you think's going to happen to him later in life?
Spike Lee had that video game designed specifically for the movie as a commentary on glorifying violence with rap and and a lot of culture that is shown to black children.
Sure. That makes sense.
And finishing up with Jodie Foster, there are a couple more movies that I really enjoyed her in. I actually really liked her in Panic Room. I think she did a really good job. And there is a Western that she's in that I'm absolutely picking for our show because I bet you haven't seen it. It has Mel Gibson.
Oh, Maverick. I love Maverick.
Fuck yes. I'm so glad you've seen that movie.
Yeah, no, I've seen that movie
James Gardner?
5 times. Yes.
Oh my God.
My pappy always said.
Oh my God, I love that movie. That's
Maverick
a
is a killer fucking movie, and Jodie Foster's a badass in that movie too.
Yes, she is.
She is awesome.
Because she's a badass in real life. She's a member of Mensa. She went to Yale. You said, you saw her in a French movie and she spoke all her lines because she's fluent in French.
Right, yeah.
She dubbed her own character in the French version of this movie. Which is awesome because then it's her actual voice. I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. And you mentioned Brian Grazer being a producer of this movie.
Yeah.
I think that is because Ron Howard was originally going to direct this film.
No way.
Yes, which would have made it a completely different movie.
Yeah, it would have.
Oh,
it would have been a completely different feel. 100%.
Yes.
Wow.
And he didn't because Russell Crowe showed him the script for Cinderella Man, and Howard went off to direct that instead.
Oh, wow. Well, Cinderella Man is a fucking great movie.
I love Paul Giamatti. It's my favorite Paul Giamatti role.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
I loved him in that movie.
I could talk about Giamatti all day. I love that. I love that actor. He's
way
awesome.
Underrated actor.
Very.
This movie was shot in 39 days. Classic Spike Lee.
Awesome.
God, nice and tight, just like the movie. It's great. And some other people in this movie. So again, you mentioned Denzel. I talked about him a couple weeks ago in the Crimson Tide episode. A couple more credits that I hadn't mentioned in that episode that I'll bring up today.
Sure.
Training Day, which I think you might have mentioned in that episode, but I hadn't.
I might have.
But reiterating Training Day because he's amazing in it.
Yes. Alonzo Harris.
Yeah. He was the lead in the Magnificent Seven remake.
Oh, yeah. I never saw that.
It's fun but forgettable.
I have
Ethan
always
Hawke's
wanted to
in it,
watch
and
it.
Ethan Hawke's very good in it.
Oh, all right. I like. Well, look at that. They were paired together again.
Yeah, you like Ethan Hawke.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I do like Ethan Hawke. Well, they were both together in Training Day.
Exactly. Yeah,
So that's cool. I didn't know that Ethan Hawke was in that.
Yeah, he was in the Equalizer series.
I actually dug the Equalizer movies.
I've only seen the first one.
Second one's okay. It's not wonderful. I mean, the first one's a lot better,
Right,
for
of
sure.
course, usually.
But definitely good times, good brutality.
And Denzel's also been in several Spike Lee movies, including this one.
Yes.
Other ones are He Got Game and Malcolm X.
That's correct, yes, which I have not seen either of those.
I have seen Malcolm
Whoops.
X. I have not seen He Got Game.
I've heard He Got Game is great, and I all I know about Malcolm X is that it's fantastic, and it's been on my to-watch list, so I got to get to it.
Yeah, you should. And I'm not going to talk much about Clive Owen because A, I know he's one of your favorites, and B, he leads your movie.
Yes.
I'll just say that he caught my attention in a very small part of Bourne Identity, the original Bourne Identity movie.
Oh, yeah.
He had a very bit part, but he caught my attention immediately. I was like, oh, this guy's good.
That's right. I forgot he was in the first Bourne Identity movie.
Mm-hmm. And he was in King Arthur, which isn't great, but a fun movie.
I love it.
Keira Knightley's in that movie. A lot of people panned it. I really enjoyed it.
A lot of people did, and it
yeah.
kind of sucks that they did because I'll be honest with you, I think it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and I thought
it was a
Antoine
fun movie.
Fuqua did a goddamn good job with that movie.
Agreed. And my favorite of his, though, has got to be Sin City. Love him in that movie.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Love him in Sin City.
And other actors who we've mentioned in this movie, Christopher Plummer, who unfortunately passed away last year, but he had a good long life and a good long career.
Very.
You are going to give me shit for this, and it's totally justified. He is probably most recognizable for The Sound of Music, which I have never seen.
You haven't seen Sound of Music?
I know.
Interesting.
It was
fascinating.
Not a movie we watched in my household growing up. And so, yeah, I'd never watched it. More recently, and from what I recognize him from, he's a doctor in 12 Monkeys, a movie that we will be covering.
That's right. Yes, he plays Brad Pitt's father.
Yep. He is Van Helsing in the movie Dracula 2000.
Is he really?
Yes.
I never saw Dracula 2000.
Oh my god, it's so terribly great. It's a terrible movie. Gerard Butler's in it. It's super fun. Wes Craven, I think, produced it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But better movies he was in. He's in A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, yes.
I loved him as Mike Wallace in The Insider, which is a movie we've talked about before.
Oh, yeah. The Insider's great.
Oh, my God. As Mike Wallace, he's so good. He's Charles Muntz in Up, who's the adventurer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's his voice. And I most recently saw him as Harlan in Knives Out. He's the murder victim.
I didn't like Knives Out.
I know. And continuing with this just exceptional cast, Willem Dafoe's in this.
Yes.
You know, I always think of him as Norman Osborn in Spider-Man movies.
Oh, so good.
So good.
He's so bad. I was so glad that he was the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn. Like, he's such a fucking beast. He's so awesome.
Always wanted him to do some iteration of the Joker for a Batman movie, and it's never happened, and that would be amazing.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
He's in John Wick as one of the assassins. I loved
That's
him in that
right,
movie.
yeah.
He's Gil in Finding Nemo, the angelfish
Yes.
with the scar. Love
Shark
him.
bait.
I love him in that movie. So cute.
I can't
And-
wait to show you him in The Lighthouse.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that movie, even though I hear it's totally insane.
Mm-hmm.
The last actor I'll talk about a little bit is Chiwetel Ejiofor. He is so cool in everything he does.
Yeah, he is.
I first saw him in the movie Serenity, which is the Firefly movie.
Oh, yeah.
He plays an assassin, and he's so cool in it. And that's when he uses his real British accent. And in this
sweet.
movie, he did not at all.
No, he didn't.
Does a pretty good American accent, actually.
Yeah.
He's the lead in 12 Years a Slave.
Never saw that one.
Oh, God. It's a movie that is so good and so hard to watch and so necessary to watch, but you hate every minute of it, too. It's very conflicting feelings, but God damn it, is it such a good movie.
Well, maybe I'll give it a shot.
Michael Fassbender is in it.
Oh, is Fassbender in that?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's
Okay.
so good and so terrible. And Chiwetel Ejiofor is in Love Actually. He's
Oh.
Keira Knightley's husband, and they always talk about that douchebag friends of his who's in love with Keira Knightley and goes up and holds the sign in front of her door at Christmas and all that bullshit. And like, he's the husband in that whole situation.
Interesting.
Yeah, he has like one line in Love Actually.
Oh, I've seen Love Actually, and I don't remember liking it at all.
No, I don't like that movie either.
Huh.
It hasn't aged well. And he's actually Denzel's brother in the movie American Gangster.
That's right.
Yeah,
oh my
he's
gosh.
good.
Oh, yeah.
He's.
Oh, American Gangster is a killer movie.
I think we should pick that at some point because a lot of people haven't seen that movie, even though it has
Yeah.
like Denzel, Russell Crowe, Idris Elba. Like, it's a really
Yeah,
great movie
it's
full
a
of stars,
big
and a
one.
lot of people didn't see it.
I saw that in theaters.
So did I.
Seeing that,
I remember
yeah.
seeing that in theaters too. It was great.
Good movie.
He's in The Martian, which I just watched, if anybody follows our Twitter account.
Yeah.
He is Vincent Kapoor, who is one of the flight directors, and he's really good. And again, American accent.
Yes. Martian is a great movie.
Martian is a great movie. And he's also Mordo in Doctor Strange.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And according to Spike Lee, he and Willem Dafoe met in the men's room during the intermission of the play Julius Caesar that Denzel was starring in. So Spike Lee and William Dafoe are both at this play, and they were standing side by side in the men's room, and Spike said, "We should work together." And Willem Dafoe said, "Yeah, we should." And that was it.
Wow.
And then Spike sent
And
him
there we
the
go.
script a couple years later, which
That's awesome.
is hilarious because that conversation happens all the time in Hollywood,
Oh, yeah.
but people actually working together never does. Like, people talk
Right,
a
right.
good game all the time in Hollywood, like, "Oh yeah, we should totally work together again. Oh yeah, I'll put you in my next film." That conversation happens all the time, and people never ever follow through. The town is just all talk in so many ways, and so I thought I laughed about that story, and I figured you would too.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. I love that.
So Spike Lee, again, mentioned him before, and he's done Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, which is a very good movie. Black Klansman, which is also on our list.
Good.
So good. The Summer of Sam, John Leguizamo. We were talking about him recently.
Yeah.
He Got Game, again with Denzel. And 25th Hour, which has Edward Norton in it, which is my second favorite Spike Lee movie.
Interesting. That's a good one. I like
Black
that
Klansman actually might beat it now.
Yeah.
Now that Black Klansman out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, 25th Hour is a very good movie if you haven't seen it. It's
Very, very good movie. And my friend Lila, actually, she's an Italian assistant director that I've worked with several times. She was at my wedding. I love her to death. She worked on Old Boy with Spike Lee.
Oh.
She worked on The Sweet Blood of Jesus with Spike Lee. She worked on a couple other Spike Lee movies, and I can't remember exactly how they know each other, but she has always been in touch with Spike Lee, and she hired me to be her second AD on a movie in New York several years ago. And it's actually, I think it's back on Netflix now. It's called Yellow Fever. It's a very, very sweet movie about a Asian designer that falls in love with a Chinese actor who is hiding his homosexuality. And it's a very good movie. And I will never not praise the director, Ray, for bringing me onto that movie and entrusting me with the remainder of that production. Check it out. Yellow Fever on Netflix. Or excuse me, wow. Yellow Fever was the working title. It is actually called Front Cover now.
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We enjoy playing a little bit of trivia on this podcast, and today I will do one for my movie. This film includes 3 Oscar winners and 3 additional nominees.
Ah.
The Oscar nominees are Clive Owen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Willem Dafoe. The Oscar winners are Denzel, Jodie Foster, and Christopher Plummer. So there are 3 Oscar winners. Can you name any of the movies they won for?
Well, we all know that Denzel won for Training Day.
Yep.
He won supporting actor for another movie.
He did. It's a movie we've mentioned before on this podcast. It's from the very, very early 90s.
Early 90s.
It's about a war.
Oh. He didn't win for Courage Under Fire. I don't think...
Nope, Courage Under Fire is from 97.
Okay.
Earlier than that. Matthew Broderick's in the movie?
Oh, jeez. Oh, Glory then.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
He won Best Supporting Actor for Glory.
Wonderful.
Okay, so Denzel,
So that's Denzel.
Jodie.
Yeah.
Obvious.
Jodie Foster.
Very obvious.
Oh, she won for Silence of the Lambs.
She won for Silence of the Lambs.
Which
All
is the first R-rated thriller to win Best Picture.
It is well deserved.
You've seen it, right?
Oh, it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, it's so good.
Fucking great. Yeah, it's a great movie. And now the hardest one, Christopher Plummer. I haven't seen this movie. I don't think you have either.
Okay.
He won in 2011 Best Supporting Actor for this movie that has one of your faves, Ewan McGregor, in it.
Oh, The Beginners.
Shit! How'd you know?
I remember
done.
when that movie came out. I haven't seen it, but I remember that. Yeah, it was Ewan McGregor and Christopher Plummer. It was very, very well received movie, so it's one that I have been meaning to watch.
Yeah, and it's also an Oscar winner, apparently. So
yes, indeed.
Check it out. So yes, good job on the trivia. Those are the 3 Oscar winners of this film. Highly recommend it. Really enjoyable. And again, even though it's a bank robbery movie, it's certainly not violent, not gory, and definitely, like I said, plot and dialogue driven. Very, very enjoyable watch.
Absolutely. Inside Man is a great film. Everybody should give it a shot. It's a lot of fun.
The budget for Inside Man
Oh, yeah.
was $45 million.
Ah.
U.S. box office was $88.
Wow.
Worldwide was $186 million. This movie crushed it.
Yeah, it did.
And it's just one of the forgotten gems, I think.
I agree. Wow, I had no idea. That's awesome.
Yeah, so highly recommend people who are part of the U.S. box office who've seen it previously, go ahead and give it a rewatch. It's definitely held up. Otherwise, if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it.
Absolutely.
And there is a piece of jewelry in this movie. That's all we're going to say. They used the real thing.
No way.
They borrowed it from the designer.
Wow.
And it's a $1.5 million piece of jewelry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
I
awesome.
love that it was real.
That's really badass. I had no idea.
Me
I mean,
either.
every time it hits the light and it's on camera, it is gorgeous. It doesn't look fake. So, well, that's why we now know why.
Oh, yeah. So, just fun for anybody watching the movie. You can watch it and be like, oh, shit, that's real.
Hell yeah. That is badass.
So, that's The Inside Man. Highly recommend it, and you can watch it on HBO Max.
That's where I watched it because I don't
yeah.
own it yet, but now I'm gonna.
Good.
I'll likely get either the 4K or, well, yeah, I'll get
It'd
the 4K
be good in
on like
4K.
Apple or something like that. Oh, yeah, I would.
So yes, that's Inside Man. Really enjoy the movie. Highly recommend it. And really excited to continue with the Clive Owen and Chiwetel theme and go to your movie.
I can't wait to talk about it. I hope you're as excited about it as I am.
I am, especially because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I think it's only the second time I've ever seen it.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right, cool. I chose the Clive Owen-led, also starring Julianne Moore, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Charlie Hunnam, Danny Houston, Michael Caine, 2006, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, Children of Men. Absolutely fan-fucking-tastic film from beginning to final frame.
Such an incredible movie.
I saw this film 3 times in theaters. I saw it opening weekend with my parents. I could not get enough of this movie. There was so much going on in this movie that it commanded multiple viewings if you could get to the theater to do so. We are in November 2027 in Britain, And according to the news channels and everything like this, Britain is the only country that is soldiering on throughout a worldwide civil war. So Children of Men opens up, and we are in a coffee shop. And we're hearing the overture of news channels talking about how the youngest person on the planet has just died. Baby Diego, at 18 years of age, has been murdered for not signing autographs to fans of his. Now, for those that have not seen Children of Men centers on the fact that women are now infertile, unable to get pregnant, and there has not been a new birth in 18 years, which is why this is so significant to not only Britain but the world that baby Diego is now gone. So there's a terrorist bombing that Theo, who's played by Clive Owen, is involved in, and he ends up going to work after this bombing and then gets the day off because he's a little bit out of sorts. He tells his boss that baby Diego's death is affecting him a little bit more than he thought it would, so he'd like to finish his work at home. He doesn't go home. He goes out to hang out with a buddy of his named Jasper, who is played by the fantastic Mike O'Kane.
And I love him in this role.
Oh, Jasper's character is amazing.
Michael Caine is a hippie. Yeah. Who knew we needed that, but we did.
Oh, we absolutely did. And he's just so funny in this movie too. Mm-hmm. And he actually based his character Jasper off of John Lennon, which I thought was very entertaining.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and he's a recluse, lives in the forest away from the world.
I want his house. I want his property.
His house is awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. He's very entertaining to watch, and I like the conversations that they have in that sequence. The joke that he tells Theo about the doctors wondering why women can't get pregnant anymore.
I laughed out loud.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, it's so good.
It's really, really entertaining.
Yeah, I love that first scene together, especially because Clive Owen has almost been a victim of, like you said, a terrorist bombing, and it's at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And Michael Caine goes, "I'm really glad you don't take cream or sugar in your coffee."
Right, yeah. Losing you and baby Diego in the same day would be too much to bear. So Alfonso Cuarón did not read the novel of Children of Men all the way through. He read an abridged version. He had one of his other writers read the actual book from beginning to end. And that's interesting to hear from me, because I like to read a book and then watch the movie. And if I were somebody like Cuarón, I figure I would want to read the book and do it as good a justice as I could. However, the writer of the novel, P.D. James, she has done nothing but praise this adaptation of her novel.
Oh, good.
So that puts a very sweet taste in my mouth, if you will. It makes me very happy to hear that, because that is something that I imagine any writer-director would want to aspire to, is to do it justice and treat it with the respect that it deserves. And a movie like this and a novel like this really does deserve that, and I'm glad to hear that P.D. James was very receptive and very happy with the final product.
Which is why at first I was a little wary, because I feel like if you're not going to read the book and then make a movie out of it, you're not respecting the original source material.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm glad I'm really glad the author liked it.
Same. It was a very sobering moment for me, if you will. But in the actual novel, the reason for infertility is because men can no longer produce sperm, which I thought was interesting, an interesting way to go.
Oh, that's very interesting change.
I thought so. Yeah, I thought it was a little bit interesting that they went that route. Not that, either way is right or wrong. I think
might have just been easier to explain in a movie.
I think maybe that's the case, and there's a quote from Alfonso Cuarón that I like about the way that he did this movie. He goes, "There's a lot of cinema that I detest, which is cinema that is about exposition and explanation. It's a medium for lazy readers. Cinema is a hostage of narrative, and I'm very good at narrative as a hostage of cinema." And I fucking love that, because we really get all we need to know in Children of Men. Women are infertile. That's it.
Experiencing the movie, not with them beating you over the head with it.
Right.
You pick up little pieces and fill in the blanks as the movie progresses, not because it shows you everything in the first 10 minutes and there's some unnecessary monologue. That is so accurate.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking great. I love it.
I thought that was pretty fantastic. So after several different rewrites, Alfonso Cuarón made sure everybody that did a rewrite got a credit. It's like, it says written by 6 different people. And an uncredited writer of Children of Men is also Clive Owen. He had a lot of input in the finality of the screenplay being locked down.
Really?
Because he was given a version of it before while Alfonso Cuarón was directing Prisoner of Azkaban. And after Clive Owen had signed on, Alfonso Cuarón got the job to direct, and then they sat down together and they really reworked the script quite a bit to make it what they wanted it to be. So beyond women being infertile, like you said, Britain is on lockdown. They are a martial law, infertility testing. If you do not get a fertility test, you're a criminal, and immigration is a major thing as well.
Yes.
And the way we learned that people are migrating to Britain is because the rest of the world is in complete shit and being just destroyed. So everybody wants to go to Britain because Britain is soldiering on. So Theo hangs out with Jasper. They discuss the infertility. Theo ends up going home. On his way home, he's kidnapped. He's kidnapped by a group of radicals, I guess is what we could say. They're essentially a terrorist group, and we find this out through dialogue. He is blindfolded. He's taken into a shack, and then just given a whole bunch of information that he never expected to get. You know, he needs to help his ex-wife now gain transit papers for a refugee that this group of people wants to help get out of London. We don't know why exactly. Just all of a sudden, his ex-wife shows up and goes, "I need your help." He decides that he'll help her. This is why he goes to his cousin's house. And then he's offered a whole bunch of money to do, this minor, quote-unquote minor deed. Not really such a minor deed when the entire country's locked down and halfway through the city people are locked in cages because they're immigrants. So oddly enough, we've seen that kind of go down over the last 10 years with migrations from Mexico and other countries in our own country, unfucking fortunately. It's really nuts to see that this movie came out in 2006 and then fast forward almost a decade later and, we're reading about people being locked up in cages as they're trying to migrate. So anyway, this is where Chiwetel Ejiofor shows up. He is involved and in cahoots with Julianne Moore's character, whose name is Julian in the movie, which I thought was kind of fun. So that was an interesting back and forth with them, how, they hadn't seen each other. He's very standoffish about seeing her again, and she offers him a whole bunch of money to help this refugee. So he goes home, he acquires these transit papers, and then he meets up with Julian and Chiwetel Ejiofor again, and they are on their way to bring this woman to the coast to what they call the Human Project. And the Human Project is on the high seas now on ships, and they are hospital ships, quite literally is the information that we're given. During this sequence of trying to get this refugee, Key is the character's name, played by Claire Hope Ashaiti. I could be completely butchering her last name, and I apologize if I am. She is the refugee that they're trying to help, and we also have Pam Ferris in the car. She plays Miriam.
Trunchbull!
Yeah, I was wondering if you knew that she played...
immediately! I was like, holy shit, Trunchbull's in this movie!
Yes, from Matilda.
Anybody who's a fan of Matilda, oh god, yeah, that's great. And you said Charlie Hunnam, because you don't see his face in this movie much.
Not very much.
And he has horrible blonde dreads. But I could tell from his voice, I was like, is that Charlie Hunnam? So, yeah. Sons of Anarchy fans, yep. Charlie Hunnam's in this movie.
Pacific Rim fans, the new King Arthur fans.
Is Charlie anyone Hunnam. A fan of the new King Arthur?
There were moments that I liked, and it's a Guy Ritchie, so you got to give it a shot.
Okay, I was planning on watching it when it was still on HBO, and it's left again, so I got to figure out how to watch it.
It's really not horrendous, but it's not great either.
Okay, well, as long as it's not horrendous.
No, like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, Charlie Hunnam, he plays the guy that kidnaps Theo. So anyway, we are in the car now with Julianne Moore, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Pam Ferris, Claire Hope, and Clive Owen. They are just having a bit of a grand old time at this point in time.
Everything's going according to plan.
Yeah, plan is working out for him. Theo's going to walk away with like $10,000. Refugee's going to get out of the country. They're doing their good deed of the day. Very unfortunately, they are ambushed by a group of terrorists, etc. And this is one of the most incredible sequences that to date that has ever been put together in a single car. This, if you've seen Children of Men, you know what we're talking about. It is still a flawlessly executed, very gorgeously shot, about 6 or 7 minutes without a cut.
Complex stunt.
Absolutely complex stunt. Mostly stunt players except for the main acting cast. Yeah. And the whole thing about how they shot that is on the making of DVD, which I recommend everybody check out. The cinematographer built this whole contraption around the car so that the car could move around. Cinematographer was Emmanuel Lubezki, who we all know as Chivo. He was nominated for Birdman. He won for Blade Runner 2049, which was we might as well give him his Oscar now sort of an Oscar.
Yeah, it's like the Russell Crowe Gladiator Oscar.
Actually, Emmanuel Lubezki won for Gravity, which was also directed by Alfonso Cuarón.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy Gravity quite a bit. I know a lot of people are not a fan of Gravity, but that's fine. He did The Revenant.
Oh, of course. Another single shot scene that is incredible. As the audience is learning, we are both big fans of single shots in movies.
Yeah, very much so. And Children of Men is chock full of them.
Mm-hmm.
So this mechanism that they built around this car was a roofless vehicle, and the camera moved on a track that was all operated by a camera operator on the roof of the car, where the director, DP, one camera operator, grip and electric, gaffer, and best boy sat up there, making sure that everything worked out. This was also a very meticulously choreographed sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are times when the camera's looking out of the windshield, and then the camera comes around and almost 180s around onto Julianne Moore and the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
So as that's happening, Chiwetel Ejiofor is lowering his seat and laying on Key's lap, and then as the camera's coming back around to him, he adjusts his seat so he's sitting back up straight again. And then as camera goes to the back seat, Julianne Moore lays down. And as the camera's coming back to Julianne Moore, she comes back up again. So there is nothing but meticulous planning. The beautiful thing about Children of Men is a lot of it does look like it is single shot. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of very small digital transitions that have been added to the car sequence to make it look like one fluid shot. It was shot several different times over the course of a few days, but the way that it is put together is a flawless one shot. And it is absolutely gorgeous. And there's one moment in that sequence in theaters the first time I saw it where I was so pumped up. I remember my heart racing right after the gun goes off.
Yes.
I was like completely like, oh, fuck. And then when Theo kicks the door open onto the motorcycle, absolutely blew me away. And I remember the first time it felt like I was the one that kicked that door.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sound was so good, and my chest resonated like I might have just been in a car accident, and my mouth got all like cottony. I was just like all the fuck in it. Just a very beautiful, meticulously planned shot, and it's pretty brutal too. Like this is not a very happy movie. This is an R rating for strong violence, and it gets worse violence later on. Like this is kind of just a small taste of like what we can expect for the rest of the movie. So after that, it really becomes a cat and mouse game of getting Key off of the island of Britain and getting her to safety, and so Theo can collect his money and then go about his day continuing to get drunk. But the thing about Children of Men is I really can't talk a whole lot about what else goes on because it really would give the movie away. Mm-hmm. But there is one character that shows up that I absolutely love. He shows up later on in the movie, a character named Sid, played by Peter Mullen.
Yes.
And Peter Mullen, for those that know me and my Trainspotting love, Peter Mullen is in Trainspotting. He plays the Mother Superior, who is the supplier of heroin to the Skag Boys. He's also in a movie with Gerard Butler that I absolutely loved called The Vanishing, and it is about two guys that are on an island with a lighthouse, similar to The Lighthouse, that unfortunately disappeared. And all we know, and this is a true story, is that these two guys on this island ended up vanishing without a trace. And the movie tells its own story, but Peter Mullen is really good in it. And majority of the time, Peter Mullen's really good when he shows up.
Yes, he is. I am a big fan of him in Ozark. He was Jacob Snell in Ozark. I really liked him in that. And he's also, which you can recognize because you've actually seen this installment of the movie, He's the Death Eater Yaxley in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Oh, really?
And that's what I immediately recognized him from because of his very hoarse voice.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's Yaxley in Harry Potter, and God, he's good as a bad guy in that.
He is a great bad guy. And I love his character Sid because he refers to himself in the third person. And a lot of his dialogue is very entertaining, even though when it starts to get on the tenser side. So anyway, going back into a little bit more of the production of Children of Men, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did this time around, and I hadn't before. But just about every scene contains an animal.
Really?
Yes, just about everyone. Not every single scene in the movie. A good 97% of the movie, every scene contains an animal, whether it be a dog, a cat, a zebra. At one point, we see a zebra.
Horses.
There's horses. There's a deer that shows up. Mm-hmm. And all of the dogs and all the cats in the movie always like Theo.
Yes, they do.
The dogs like Theo when he goes to the safe house. The guy's like, oh, the dogs like you. They don't like anybody. Mm-hmm. And then the cat is like all over him, like climbing up on him. And there's always that saying that if an animal likes you, then you have a good heart. So I really liked that kind of underlying, way of telling us that Theo actually is a good person. Mm-hmm. He's just personal anguish. One of my favorite things is, you find out that there's a problem with your main character, and there's also more problems that just keep getting added to their shoulders, and they're trying to just get through it, and that's exactly what Theo's trying to do. And I really like that.
Shit gets set on fire, then hits the fan in this movie.
Exactly.
This movie just gets more and more tense. I have more and more anxiety watching this movie, but it's so well done and so good, and you want to know what happens to these people. So important. And yes, I can attest to animals judging humans' character, because I will always remember one of my sister's dogs hating her boyfriend, and he turned out to be a douche. So
there you go.
That's
how it goes. I liked that little bit of info, is that most every scene contained an animal. Another thing that I found very interesting was that Alfonso Cuarón and Chivo, as we like to call Emmanuel Lubitsky, they came up with the idea of making this movie similar to a documentary, so it felt like we were watching something that went down in 2027 as opposed to watching a movie. And I thought that was beautiful to hear because of the single shots that we are gifted in this movie. And the way that it's put together and the way that the camera moves with everybody is gorgeous. I mean, it's similar to Inside Man. It's a lot of handheld, very little dolly tracking shots, and you're moving along. The camera's always moving is another thing that I really like about Children of Men.
Yes,
there's no shot in Children of Men.
No steady cam was used.
No steady cam, but no stagnant shots, like where they're just like on somebody. Early on in the movie with Theo and Jasper, when they're smoking weed and they're talking, camera is moving either closer on Jasper or closer on Theo, or it's a wide shot of both of them over the shoulder of Theo onto Jasper, but the camera is still moving slowly in closer as they're talking. I love it. I love the way this movie is shot so fucking much. It is just so gorgeous.
It's extremely well executed, and I wholeheartedly believe that the set designer should have won an Oscar for this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything is meticulous. There are details in the background so well put together. Everything is a deliberate decision on how they are presenting this world. It is so good. The graffiti.
Oh, yeah.
The posters, everything. I loved when he's on the train in the beginning of the movie. There's a wall and there's graffiti and it says, "Last one to die, please turn out the light."
Right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And all those newspaper articles, every one of them was generated for the movie because it was set in 2027.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, which is awesome, that those details are very, very fascinating to learn about. Another moment in this movie that actually really is somewhat heartwarming. There's very few moments like that in this movie. But this one in particular really got me, is when Miriam and Theo are at the school waiting for Sid. I really love the monologue that Miriam has while she's speaking with Theo about being a nurse in the hospital and watching these women have the inability to get pregnant and birth a child. And she says, "It's very interesting to me that I was there at the end." And Theo just kind of looks at her and you're like, fuck, like, my gosh.
I was 31. Midwife at the John Radcliffe. Was doing a stint in the antenatal clinic. 3 of my patients miscarried in 1 week. Others were in their 5th and 6th month. Managed to save 2 of the poor babies. Next week, 5 more miscarried. Then the miscarriages started happening earlier. I remember booking a woman in for her next appointment and noticing that the page 7 months ahead was completely blank. Not a single name. I rang a friend who was working at Queen Charlotte's and she had no new pregnancies either. She then rang her sister in Sydney and it was the same thing there. As the sound of the playgrounds faded, the despair set in. Very odd. What happens in a world without children's voices? I was there at the end.
Can you imagine if this were to happen, if women were unable to get pregnant, or if men just stopped producing sperm? Like, what would happen? You know, legacies would be over. And after the youngest person's born, like baby Diego, who knows? You know, like what's gonna crack down in the world? Who's gonna? It really makes you think.
Yeah, and that makes me think of his cousin and what he says to his cousin. His cousin is in charge of this art arc. So basically saving all the art of the world. Theo, when he sees his cousin, goes, I just don't understand the point of all this. In 100 years, nobody's going to be around to look at it.
Yeah.
Which, do you know who plays his cousin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Danny Houston.
And who is Danny Houston's half-sister?
Oh, that I don't know.
Angelica Houston.
Oh, really?
Hell yeah, they are.
Oh, really?
Yep,
They're halves?
Their dad, John Houston. They
Oh,
share
wow.
their dad. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think Danny Houston's so cool. He is great as the very, very bad Nazi in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, he is. He's a good actor.
He's a really
all
good
around.
actor.
He's great character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff.
He's a young William Stryker in some of the X-Men movies.
Yes, and X-Men 2. Right, yeah. Was it X-Men 2? Stryker.
No, he's young William Stryker in X-Men Origins.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Which was a terrible film, but he's good in it.
I don't know if I saw that one.
It's not good. Don't watch it.
Okay.
Oh, and speaking of details, so this is set in 2027. I love the sweater that they chose for Clive Owen to wear through the majority of this movie.
Oh, interesting.
This movie was filmed in 2006.
Yeah.
It's set in 2027, and they gave him a 2012 London Olympics shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Which is so cool and forward-thinking. This is filmed in 2006, and they were strategic enough to think, oh, this sweatshirt from 2012 would be super old and gross because the London Olympics had already been granted to London, and so that was already planned. And I was like, gosh, how clever and creative. I loved that part.
Yeah, that was a good little Easter egg. Mm-hmm. If you were paying attention to the sweater, that's very good. I like that. So I think that's pretty much all we can kind of touch on with Children of Men without giving anything away, really. It really is a wonderful, wonderful film. So Children of Men came out in the U.S. December 25th of 2006. I went and saw it opening weekend. I didn't see it on Christmas Day, but I saw it a few days after that. And,
what a brutal Christmas movie, man.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. The month of December had a shit ton of great movies come out, and I don't want to say that Children of Men necessarily fell under the radar. However, the budget for Children of Men was $76 million. The U.S. gross was $35 million.
Oh.
The worldwide gross was $70.5 million.
Oh, bummer.
I know.
Not deserved at all. This movie's great.
Oh, gosh. When I read that, I was really upset. I was like, oh, come on. It's like, and everybody, and the thing is, a lot of people saw it after theaters. So December of 2006 has actually, I would say I wouldn't say one of them is necessarily my favorite movie, although these two actually are my favorite. One of them is a holiday movie, and the other is nowhere near a holiday movie. And I'm wondering if you might be able to guess what these two movies are. Your hint, this is a tough one to give you a hint on. First hint for the second one, which is a favorite movie of mine. It's a Christmas movie. It has an all-star cast, and it is written and directed by Nancy Meyer.
Nancy Holiday?
Myers. Yes, The Holiday. Yeah. Kate Winslet, Jack Black, Cameron Diaz, Jude Law. Great holiday movie. Amy and I watch it every December.
Nice.
At least twice. It's one of those movies that I saw that movie in theaters with my mother. I went and
Aw.
saw that in the theaters with my mom. Anyway, this one actually was very likely my favorite of, if not December, maybe 2006. And I know there's a lot of movies that came out in 2006, but this one I saw opening night, and then I saw it again 2 nights later, and this is a Mel Gibson directed film.
2006.
Yes. Something tells me you may not have seen this movie. And everybody was like, what the fuck is Mel Gibson doing with making a movie like this?
Apocalypto.
Apocalypto.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Have
I hear
you
that
seen
movie is incredible.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's
my
actually
God.
incredible.
It is spec-fucking-tacular. Absolutely a gem of cinema. And the fact that it is in the Mayan language, and it is as true as it can be, according to every researcher and historian that has come about after Apocalypto's release, it is a wonderful film.
Nice. Okay. I've heard good things.
It's fucking brutal, though.
I've heard that too.
There is nothing that you won't be able to breathe for 2 hours. It is
Nice.
just, you catch your breath within the first 5 minutes, and you're just like, what the fuck? It is so intense. Another one that came out in December of 2006, Blood Diamond. Another one I enjoy that you've never seen but refused to see because of DiCaprio's South African accent, even though Jennifer Connelly's in it.
That is all correct.
Yes, indeed. Then we have The First Night at the Museum, which is a good time. Good one. Saw that in theaters as well.
Robin Williams.
Yes, back in the day. And then another movie that came out that I actually saw in the Dome. It was the second movie that day that I saw. I convinced my parents to do a double feature.
Nice.
We went down to the Sunset 5 and we saw Helen Mirren's The Queen first, which was a great portrayal, great movie. I thought The Queen was really good. And then we went to the ArcLight for a later showing of the Eddie Murphy, Beyonce Knowles, Jennifer Hudson-led Dreamgirls.
She won an Oscar for that, didn't she?
Jennifer Hudson won the Oscar for Dreamgirls, yeah. And that was the first movie that I had ever been to where people gave a standing ovation after a musical number.
Wow.
The entire fucking theater stood up after one of Jennifer Hudson's pieces, and
Nice.
we were just like, holy shit.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah. Dreamgirls is a great, great movie. So that's likely why Children of Men fell under the radar, not because of Apocalypto. Apocalypto did very well, but The Holiday was light and sweet. Night in the Museum was very kid-friendly. And at the same time, Children of Men could have been ahead of its time. It may have been a subject matter that people were like, I don't want to watch something like that. And I know a lot of people like that with movies. They're like, that subject matter is not something I want to really kind of give my time to. So as unfortunate as it is, and as wonderful as Children of Men is cinematically, and even to this day, it still holds up in every sense of the word.
Absolutely. And I think that another piece of it, one of the reasons why it might have fallen under the radar, is because Alfonso Cuarón wasn't huge yet for American audiences.
Very true. Yeah.
If this came out after Gravity, I think a lot of people would have gone to that movie just because he directed it.
Sure. Very true. Yeah, that's a good point. So that's likely why also. But yeah. I think that about covers Children of Men for today. I love Children of Men. It is on my at least top 15 of favorites of all time. It's my favorite Clive Owen film, and I didn't really talk too much about Clive Owen's performance at all, unfortunately.
So
but
good.
He was very good in this movie. Very stoic, very damaged, with what's been going on in his life. And he even says to Jasper early on, and Jasper's like, how was your birthday? He goes, oh, just like any other day. Woke up, felt like shit, went to work, felt like shit.
Yeah.
And Jasper says, well, that, my friend, is a hangover. And so it's like,
Love Michael Caine.
Yeah, everybody. So we're given the fact that Clive Owen's character Theo has been on the bottle for quite a while.
Oh, he's been depressed
And-
for over 20 years.
Yeah, and he's always got a bottle of blended scotch in his jacket pocket. And I really like his evolution from,
Yes.
wanting to just go about his day after baby Diego dies and then help
Not
this refugee.
giving a single shit about his life or anybody else's.
Yeah, not at all. I really like the way that Clive Owen portrays most of his emotions just through his eyes. Like there's not you don't really need to. He doesn't need to say much, and you kind of like with Denzel and Inside Man and most of Denzel's performances, they really do portray what they're thinking on their face, and you almost get a sense of exactly what they're thinking. And I really like that about Clive Owen in every movie that he's been in. And for me, I really became a fan after King Arthur because that was first, and then we got this one. We got Children of Men, then Sin City, and then Derailed, and then. It's just Clive Owen was hot for a minute and
Early
a half.
2000s, Clive Owen was hot. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Figuratively
around
speaking,
for a
he's
while.
always been hot.
One of my favorite ones that I don't think a lot of people have seen is a complete and utter ridiculous movie. Clive Owen, Monica Bellucci, Paul Giamatti, Shoot 'em Up.
Oh my god, that movie is the
So
most
much
ridiculous.
fun. Oh, but it's so much
ridiculous.
fun. Such an awesome
Yes.
movie. I saw that in theaters with my buddy Kingsley,
my God.
and we walked out of it, and my buddy, he goes, I don't know if I like that. I'm like, what did you not like about Shoot 'em Up, dude? It's in the title. It's so much fun. That shit is just insane. I love Shoot 'em Up. I thought it was great. And the International I thought was good. Duplicity, not a big fan of Duplicity. Intruders I really liked. I thought Intruders was really good. And there's a show with him and Daniel Radcliffe called The Nick that I've been meaning to watch for a very long time. I've heard great things about it. And I actually forgot that he was in Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets.
Because that movie's terrible.
It's that movie sucks after the first 8 minutes.
Yes.
Like that, the opening of Valerian is a treat. And then it really just is like, ew.
Garbage.
Like, what did Luc Besson? What happened here, buddy?
Yeah. And I love the moral questions of this movie. And that's one of the reasons I would recommend this movie to our audience. The questions around what is human nature? Because that scene at the building towards the end of the movie, I think really demonstrates human nature.
Oh, my
gosh. A couple different angles.
Absolutely.
And also, what is right and what is wrong during the end of the world?
Right. Yeah. That's very good.
I love the questions of this movie.
There are a lot, and it really does get you thinking about the end of the world, infertility, refugees, immigration, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy watching a movie like this, and just kind of any other movie, and there's a subject that's continuous across the globe. It's tough to watch a movie like this and go away thinking that was a great movie and move on from it. Like it really does open up a whole lot of conversations. And I really like that about it too.
Awesome. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to revisit this movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And likewise with yours.
Would you watch your movie with your grandma?
I probably would. Yeah, I feel like my grandmother would like it. And in a way, it's kind of got a science fiction aspect to it, and she likes that kind of thing. I don't know if she would like the violence. Well, I say that, but my grandmother
your
loves
grandma?
bloody horror movies.
Your grandma's
so, yeah,
badass. She's fine.
she would likely enjoy it. And I'd watch Inside Man with grandma also.
Yeah.
She likes the NCIS type, cop dramas.
I would certainly watch Inside Man with my grandma as well. I'd recommend Children of Men to my father, not my mother, because she doesn't like a lot of violence in a lot of ways. And with Inside Man, again, not super violent, so I'd recommend it to any adults. Probably anybody over the age of 19, just because they'd follow it, because it's a dialogue-driven movie, so it wouldn't be exciting for a teenager, I don't think.
I don't think so, no. And I remember my mom liked the movie, but she hasn't seen it since theaters. Well, that about does it for Movies You Missed podcast this week. Thank you guys for joining us. This is episode 18. For those that are returning, we really appreciate you guys continuing to come back and hang out with us for an hour or so of your day. Those that are new to us, welcome. Please do like, subscribe, review. Send us some comments on movies that we might need to check out that you would like to recommend to us. And we just recently found out that we have a couple of international listeners, and we're very curious about this and also very excited. So if you're listening to this episode, please do send us a comment or a message on either platform. We'd love to know who is listening to our voices across the globe. Thank you guys so much. And this next week, we're going to jump into a little bit of a fantasy fun time, and I can't wait to get into that one. V, what's your choice for next week?
Yes, I can't wait either. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. This is Willow.
Hey.
1988, George Lucas helmed fantasy movie with Warwick Davis and Val Kilmer. You can watch it on Disney Plus if you have a subscription. Otherwise, you can rent it on most streaming platforms for $3.99.
Hell yeah. I look forward to watching that one because I watched it once and I wasn't the biggest fan. So I'm curious what I'll think of the second time.
Very curious about this.
I'm jumping into fantasy as well. I'm doing the 1996 Dennis Quaid, Dina Meyer, Pete Postlethwaite, and Sean Connery voiced Dragonheart. Oh, yeah. Draco, Dragonheart. Can't
love that
wait.
movie.
Great movie. If you don't have a VHS or DVD copy, you can watch it on Starz, Hulu, or Amazon Prime with a premium subscription. I will be watching my DVD copy because I've had the DVD for years. I love that movie so much. Can't wait to watch that one again. It's been a while, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Hells yeah.
That about wraps it up. You can find us on all of the social media at Movies You Miss Pod. Great talking to you again this week, John. That was a really fun episode. I
think so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. I think it's going to be even more fun.
Oh, always, yes. This podcast just keeps getting better and better for us. We're really enjoying what we're doing, and thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you are having just as much fun as we are.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, again. And as we like to close out every episode, film is a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid. Except if you think.
Casting directors aren't important for movie making.
Ah, interesting.
So crucial.
Yeah.
Casting directors really can shape a movie and how it turns out, so wanted to give them a shout out.
Good shout out indeed. I know a couple casting directors, and they have one hell of a job for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that about does it, everybody. Thank you again. We will see you next time. Cheers.
Bye-bye.